Hi, I would like to welcome you today to our webinar on turn service calls into predictable cash flow. Really what we want to deal with today is just an overview of using the Sage web-based service operations to reduce your billing cycle and improve your cash flow, make it more predictable. It really is dealing with just service anywhere, and we've got another webinar on construction anywhere. This is going to be focusing on the service industry though. So for the agenda today, what we wanted to deal with is current industry issues affecting service cash flow. And really there's a number of them, but the main ones that we have out here is just eliminating the manual entry and speeding up the billing cycle, as I said. Electronic entry helps ensure that work orders are complete and legible. Accessing the service history to help you with that. Electronic dispatching and reducing errors and speeding up invoicing. And then getting electronic sign-offs out in the field, which is certainly required for our government and lots of the oil and gas mining industries. And then to finish up, we just want to talk about, is it right for you? And this really just gets down to a cost benefit, and then we'll finish up with some questions. All right, so let's just talk about some issues affecting service cash flow. So how long does it take your office staff currently to manually enter work tickets? You know, for the labor, for the parts, for the equipment. And if you take a look at it, just like how much time is it taking? Because what we find in lots of the service industries, this can take upwards of a week. Therefore, it's delaying all of the invoicing. Therefore, you don't get your billing off to your customers on a timely fashion, and therefore it just reduces this cash flow type thing. And so what we're going to be talking about is just ways to solve this using this service operation to do that. Then the next one is that the work tickets, not fully completed on time, not legible. Also, I mean, paper gets lost. I mean, somebody fills out a manual work ticket and it disappears. It's difficult to read. You can't read someone else's handwriting, or someone misspells things all the time. I'm certainly in that particular category. But the details are missing, and so when you're filling out the actual invoices, the customer doesn't know what work has been done, therefore it delays and slows down getting paid. The next one is do your techs need to access service history? So if you think about it, you're out working on a furnace out in someone's residential place. You know, when was the furnace last worked on? What did you actually replace? You know, if you're replacing the motor and you only put the other one in 6 months ago, you need to know that so that you don't just bill it out and you can put it onto warranty. But accessing the service history can certainly speed up and make things more accurate. And then the next one is how much time do you spend correcting errors on the work orders before you can actually generate an invoice? You know, you've got a narrative that's talking about changing filters, and you actually went out there to fix a motor. And you might have done that. But the problem is that you have to go in, you have to find out what's happened, you have to correct the errors before you can actually generate the invoice. Or what happens lots of times is you actually generate the invoice, and then the customer again will not pay it because it's just saying, hey, I didn't authorize this work, what are you talking about? So this is the kind of stuff, and so this affects the cash flow. What it does is it just slows down that whole payment cycle. And then the last one, how long does it take for your office staff to assemble and submit the required customer field sign-offs, the approvals that are happening out in the field? So in the mining industry, in the oil and gas industry, in the government work, lots of times you have to have all of that documentation before they will actually generate the invoice and put the actual invoice in for payment. So let's just talk about a typical service workflow. And really what we're talking about, as I said, is this front end. It's where the salespeople, the technicians are out there giving estimates and quotes. And this approval of the quotes going back and forth. It's all paper right now. And what we want to do is just automate this stuff and make it so it's all electronic so that the information is flowing back and forth very, very easily. The next one is, like I say, talking about your technicians, where you actually send them out to go and get the work. So where are they going? Where's the map to be able to go out and find that? What information do they need? What parts do they need to go out there with that stuff? and getting these approvals. And so this stuff in red is really what we're talking about. And so it's automating that front end and using these web applications called the Sage Service and Operations to streamline this and speed up this particular cash flow and being able to get all that information from the front office, or I should say from the back office, to the front end where all of your technicians and your people doing the quoting are. And really what you need to ask yourself is, how much time is it taking you guys right now to be able to handle this stuff, to move the quotes, to move the invoices, to do the manual data entry and then put it back into your systems, back in your back accounting offices? Okay? So let's just talk about making this easier. So the first one we were talking about is just speeding up that manual entry. So where we are now is that you look at these smartphones, and really all of your technicians, all of them have got smartphones. Really, it's very, very rare that they don't. And with a smartphone, it doesn't matter whether it's Samsung, Apple, you can have a listing of all of the assignments for the particular technician out in the field. And so whether you've got a new phone call that comes in through your dispatch, that would show up on here as an additional assignment for the technician. So they would already have all of that work order started with the right customer, with the right location. All of that stuff is sent to you. Excuse me. Then it's the easy collection of information. So when you're out in the field, you're looking at and you're saying, okay, you're looking at real time your part numbers. And you can see, you can type in like wire, and what it does is it goes in and finds everything that's got wire in the description. And so it's going to make things much, much easier for your consultants and your technicians to be able to double click on this, add an inventory item, then put in the quantity. I just added, 10 meters of wire into a particular job. Therefore, I want you to build that out. So you can see that what this does is that it will speed up a lot of the data entry that you're doing out in the field, whether it's the time. And if we go into the next slide that we've got here, adding the labor. And so this is yourself, or you can add other technicians if you've got the authority to do so. It puts in the date timestamp. It tells what you're basically doing. It put in the hours. And understand is this not only is going to the invoicing and to the job, but it also is available for payroll to be able to do that generation as well. Okay? And also then you go in and you can add additional notes. So this is one of the big things that happens is that you might have standard messages, and so you can say, okay, listen, I went out and I've got a regular filter change. So I would type in and have that standard message for a filter change, or this one's talking about installing a circuit breaker, right? And so you would just click on this, and what it will do is give all of that detailed stuff about fixing that circuit breaker. And then you can actually come in here and add additional notes if you need to with regards to any specifics. And this can also be done from inside and outside the office. You'll see that you've actually got some details where you can do it from in the office. So this is an internal note and this is an external note. Okay? So then let's just deal with a little bit bigger stuff. So easy field entry for details. And so what we're talking about now is just when you're using and you've got more real estate, which is like on a tablet, and this doesn't matter what kind of tablet you've got, because it's using a web IP address to access this, so all you need is a web browser. What the system does just gives you more of the information so that the technician has got more real estate to be able to do it, but it's got exactly the same information about dispatching and assignments and quotes that you can go in and access. Okay? So it can be available and it works exactly the same whether you're on a smartphone or whether you're on a tablet. So from the field, what the system allows you to do is be able to have your technicians be able to see exactly what's in the work order, what needs to get done. They can see what the locations are. They can see and put in their actual time and get all of that put into the system. They can put in all of the equipment time and what equipment they're actually using on the particular job, and they can keep track of all of the parts that they're adding on out of their service truck or whether it came from wherever, but it tracks the locations as well. And so what that does is this, is that it actually drives all of that information down and it puts it straight into your invoicing system back at the back office. So the time that it takes you guys to take all of your employee time and put it in is going away. the time that it takes for you to make sure that you're recording all of that information against the project goes away because it's all happening. And the time that it takes to put all of that information into the payroll system is also going away with regards to this because it's flowing straight in as well, reducing your errors. Okay? So let's just deal with the next one. So we were talking about just the legible and making sure that you've got things accurate out in the field. And so if we deal with that, I mean, here's a typical time card that's being filled out. And if you think about it, how much time is it taking your employees to go through here, write each one of these steps down, make sure that they got the right job number. Lots of times that's wrong. Then putting in their time, signing off the time. You know, someone needs to approve the time. Lots of times it's missing and lost, right? So the supervisors can't have this, or somebody's forgot to fill it out, or they happen to be sick when the timesheet's due. And so now they're scrambling to try to get the information. But the spelling here, I mean, I think this says power, but does it really? I mean, could it be something else that's been done? And so all of this stuff, it slows people down. It takes a lot of time to try to figure it out. You know, these guys they're out in the field. I mean, they're writing on the back of their trucks. They're doing something where it's really not the best environment for getting things down accurately and accurately. And so again, what we want to look at is using the very same systems we were talking about before to make this more accurate. And so again, if we're adding the part numbers as I described before, you type in the wire and it brings it up, and the quantities, and you can type in what inventory location it's coming from. But also, you can also track, as I was detailing, the equipment. And what are you using? I needed to use a generator, and I charge it out at $50 a day. And so you can track all of that information and maintain it very accurately. And then this is really what we call collecting the information at that grinding edge, where the actual transactions are happening, where it's way more likely that your technicians are going to remember what they had to use because they're doing it real time. Okay? But we want to make it easy, as I was saying. And so you can use these canned messages, or you can use the intelligence in the phone themselves and actually dictate it. I mean, the iPhone has got the Siri, or they've got these various assistants that are coming in. So all you need to do is just click on the empty box where you want to do it, and then you hit the microphone button, and then the phone will actually dictate and change it into typed words for you. So this can reduce down the spelling, and the technician now is in a better position to be able to give you more detail on what they did. And as I was describing before, we've got both external and internal notes that we can track in here, and we can also put in email notifications on top of this. So you can notify supervisors, dispatchers, sales managers, so what's going on, what happened. And so a note might be in here which is internal and say, by the way, we repaired the furnace, everything's fine. Internal note is, please follow up with Keith Greeno because his furnace is a piece of crap and it needs to be redone. He needs a new one, okay? All right, so let's just talk about, from a tablet point of view again. And so again, we've got a little bit more real estate. We've got very similar access to information. But what the system is doing when you go into this is actually giving you the totals, right? How much have you been assigned? So on vacation yesterday, obviously 8 hours. That's great, right? And here's the job that I've got on tap for right now. I've spent 4 hours, and here's the other jobs that are out there that need to be done and completed, okay? So with this information, so you've got the work orders out there, so you don't have to retype it. So you've got the right customer, you've got the right site that they're working on, you've got the right information that they need to have, right? So what this is going to do is make things way more timely. They're going to make it way more accurate. So let's just go a little bit further with this. So on top of this accuracy, let's understand that if I'm a foreman now, I've also got access to more information, and I can see all of the people that need to have sign-offs, and it can be done electronically. So I don't have to go chasing after timesheets. All of the timesheets are buried right in the system, right? I can just bring it up and say, yep, they actually did this, sign it off. Now it has been approved, and it date and time stamps when you did that. Right? So here's this date timestamp so that the foreman can't say, oh, no, I never approved that. No, you've got it electronically signed off, who did it, when they did it, what they did. Okay? So again, making things much, much more accurate as far as data collection out in the field, which should actually speed up your cash flows. So let's just talk about the other stuff, and we're moving on now to history. So on the next slide, with regards to accessing history. And so understand, if I can have this, and this is just a screen, what I've done is I've just kind of blown up of a tablet view of the system again. I apologize, I could have put it on the screen, but it actually gives you a little bit more information, just a little clearer. But out there, you've got all what's happened. So if I'm looking it up by a site, so who's the customer, right? Site 8, this is the customer. Great. So at Site 8, here's all of the equipment. They've got one piece of equipment. They got site details. There's 19 quotes outstanding, 1 note, 17 forms, 1 agreement. And so I can go in and look at any of this information. Attachments we'll discuss a little bit further, but we can actually embed pictures, which I'll show you on a couple of more slides. So if you had all of the information at your fingertips about what's happened with that site, it should make things much, much easier for your technicians to be able to do an accurate job and be able to service the customers a little bit better. And not only that, but we can drill right down to each one of these things, like what did you actually do with this particular work order? I can double click on it, it will open it up and give me all of the detail as far as this fluid replacement. Okay? So, helps you quite a bit as far as just what's going on. And it goes further than this as well. And so in the next slide, what we're talking about is access to history of the detailed customer, the equipment that they've got. So when we're talking about equipment here, we're not talking about your internal equipment in your particular companies. What we're talking about is customer equipment and what servicing you've done with it. So you can track all of that fun stuff about warranties and everything else. But you see, here's the boiler, who made it, what's going on, what's the model number, what's the serial number, where was it, or where is it located, okay? So all of that information is tracked. And we can go just a little bit further as well, right? Is that we can come back and now here's all of the stuff and here's all of the work order related to just that particular piece of equipment. So if you've got all of this stuff at your fingertips out in the field, your technicians and your supervisors that are out in the field are going to be able to access this stuff, be able to see what's going on, and make better decisions as far as what needs to be billed, what doesn't need to be billed, why does it have to be billed. By the way, you can put in here the warranty date has expired, a month before that, therefore this is off warranty, and move on from there. Okay? So I think it can help significantly as far as just assisting your technicians in doing their jobs just a little bit better. So let's go into the next one, it's just reducing errors on this stuff. Now you saw some of the other stuff which will reduce errors as well, but let's just talk about it from the point of view of dispatching. So this is available on the service operations as well, either internally, so this is available inside your offices obviously, but it's also available outside too. And so your service techs are going to be able to, if you give them the authority, see all of the stuff which is going on. Now, this is more of a view from a foreman or a dispatch person, but a foreman can see all of the jobs that are going on. You can see that when they click on a particular job, it brings up more detail about the job, and I can keep clicking and going in deeper into it so I can see what's going on. It also gives you a little map telling you exactly where this job is, so they can find it. So if they've got GPS in their vans and they're driving around, they can actually get out there and get the job done correctly. So if you've got this dispatching, you know when you were supposed to be there, you know when you were supposed to be gone, you know how long it should have been taking, right? So the technicians have just got this better view of the world where they can actually see what's going on without having to dig into too much paperwork and actually have all of that stuff come back to the office, pick up all your paperwork for the day, and then start going out and driving around and actually doing the jobs. This allows you to have your technicians go straight to a job. They've got all of the information so they can do it faster, reducing time and errors in going to the wrong job at the wrong time. So let's just talk about maintenance. And so again, in the same dispatching world, you see, if I go in here and take a look, and what I've done is you can see I can look at it by the day, by the week, by the next 2 weeks. What it's done is when it brought up is these are all scheduled jobs that need to be done. Okay? And it'll have, if I click on them, the detail and where this job needs to be done. But the point is that if you've got technicians that may be a little bit light on work, they can actually go in here if you give them access and be able to grab this stuff and look at it and do it. Also, this is feeding back to agreements. You've got an agreement to do a monthly maintenance of the filters, or you've got a monthly agreement to go out and check the pumps. What will happen is it'll come up and tell the technician exactly what needs to be done. Again, what we're trying to do is just reduce the errors that are happening back in that backfield to get things more accurate. And so again, from the complete view, again, when we're looking at it from this tablet view again, you see you've got your equipment and all of the stuff which is going on. You have all of that information, and you can drill down to it. So you've got the complete work order in your hands at all times to be able to get the details right. As I was discussing now, I mean, you can also attach images. So because now we're dealing with these smartphones or tablets, they all got cameras built in. Well, a picture says 1,000 words, right? And so if you're looking at this, well, this is the air conditioning unit that's broken. Don't fix this one, fix this one. And by the way, I'm going to put a little highlight so you can't get it mixed up. Don't go and fix this one, fix this one. Now this one got a little bit sloppy on that, but understand, I can put this stuff in, I can vet it right in the job. It stays there forever, and so this communication becomes much, much clearer, and so the odds of making a mistake go down. All right, so let's just talk about the next one. And so accurate work orders for invoicing. And so you see when we're actually in here, and so I can generate this at any time as these guys are doing it, and that's out from out in the field as well. But you see the rates come up. And so this rate that's in there is accurate because we know that it's coming from the agreements that are back in the back office for that particular customer. So the rates are correct. They're based on the technician. They're based on the work that they're doing. So all of those rates are there. The tax amounts, I mean, this might be a little bit low for a sales tax. I don't know when GST has ever been only 4 cents on 800. But the point is that the tax is also accurate because it's being calculated based on the customer and the location of the customer. Okay? So if there's different changes in the workman's compensation because you're working in Saskatchewan instead of Alberta, or if there's a different change in the location because you're up north in Fort McMurray or north of Fort McMurray, and there's a surcharge for being in a remote location. The bottom end is it's just a matter of making sure that these rates are correct, and the rates are correct because they're based on the agreements, on the customer, on the site that you're actually doing all of the work for. Okay? And of course, you can have these sign-offs that we're talking about out here too, but we can maybe get into that just a little bit later here. And so again, this is all tying into the back office. And so whether it's at the front end, you see the front end can generate the same work order that we're talking about, and the back end will actually get that same information put right back into here with all of the billing invoice details that you need to have to actually generate the invoice. Okay? So very, very quick, speeds it up, reduces all of that double entry of information. So now the next one is that, all right, so you're working for government or you're working for oil field. And the oil field and the mining industry very much, their documentation, I think they burden it a little bit too much. But because of that, they want to have all of these sign-offs of the various work orders by day or whatever. And so we can have daily field reports in the construction world, or in this particular world on the servicing that's being done. I can actually generate this information because it's on an iPhone or a smart tablet. They are touch-sensitive screens, so you can have the customer sign off, just like the old Purolator where they come walking in the door and they say, here, sign here, right? All of that stuff is embedded in there for you, and it attaches right onto the job. So if the customer needs to see that, you can generate this with the signature who signed it. Okay? So this can save a whole lot of time, and it makes things more accurate because obviously someone's checked it from the customer's point of view out in this field, and they're happy with this. Okay, let's go into the next and just talk about, okay, technician location tracking. So understand, with these systems as well, when you actually complete a step or you're doing something, you can actually turn on these geo-stamped locations for technicians. So if they were in McDonald's when they signed this thing off, you know if they're in Tim Hortons and they're actually having a coffee when they're supposed to be working. This thing lets you know where the heck they are. Because if you turn on that tracking, it's tracking the smartphone or it's tracking the tablet. And so you will know what's going on. And so if you've got a particular technician which is a little bit, maybe questionable and maybe not working as hard as they should, or the numbers are just not being signed off as quickly as they should be, you can actually see what's going on with these particular guys and deal with them. And so again, what we're trying to do is get the systems and have it set up so that it actually reduces the amount of time that it's taking you guys to actually be able to generate and keep your cash flows predictable. Okay? If you've got the service work continually flowing in and out on a timely fashion, then your billing should be done on a timely fashion, and you should actually improve the cash flow. So let's just talk about the one of the last slides here, which is the complete solution. And so you can understand that what we're talking about with this is this whole world in here where it's the quoting. And so technicians can do quoting from out in the field if you want them to, or you can have a salesperson having that. All of that information is going to come straight back in, and if the quote becomes a job, it goes straight into dispatch for dispatching to schedule and assign it to someone, particular technician. If the technicians are sick, you can just grab and drop it from the one technician in dispatch, whether you're out in the field or in the back office, and just change it over. You can collect all of the parts from the truck, right? The technician's out at the site now, and so what they're doing is they're actually seeing what work has to be done. They're completing all of that stuff, getting the approvals. So all of this information in the warehouse, you see, this truck, it's going to keep track on whether there's any inventory or not. And so that's going to be coming back to the warehouse manager. They can see whether that truck needs more inventory or restocking, and as well as the technician, obviously. And then all of this stuff is going to flow straight into your back-end accounting systems and your payroll, AP, and generate the invoice, which is more important from a cash flow perspective to give you the money back in your bank account faster. So really what we're talking about is a complete solution trying to just give you this service anywhere type functionality. So let's just finish it up with this. Is it right for you? And really what you have to do is this, is that it really depends on the cost benefit. What is the loss in cash flow potential if you do not solve your problems? If you're doing this stuff all manually, right? If you're doing all of this stuff where, the quotes are all done by paper and then it goes back and then 2 weeks later the guy says, yeah, where it is, you can't find the quote, you have to redo the work order. You think about how much time is being wasted doing that. Or how much time is it taking your back office payroll staff to actually be able to enter all of that information and generate the payroll? It tends to be this big rush at payroll time. Well, what rush is there if you actually have your people filling out their timesheets daily, the foreman approving them, or the supervisors approving them daily, right? And all of that information is flowing straight in, okay? So really, it reduces down this kind of stuff as far as the payroll and all of that. Expenses as well. If you're tracking all of the expenses for your subcontractors, if you have any of those kind of things, right? You can keep track of all of that and generate the accounts payable for you. And then more important on that, it's this generating the AER, getting it out to the customers on a timely fashion. And you don't have to even mail it. Thank goodness with all of that. You've got the electronic systems now where you can actually send the invoice off by email to the customer. They can actually pay it right there. So we can actually do this and save you a lot of time as far as processing. So what is it costing, right? What is the cost if you don't solve that? And that's the kind of cost that you have to take a look at. What are the costs of not having controls in place? So are you servicing the wrong air conditioner as we said in that picture? If you're servicing the wrong air conditioner, you may not get paid. And therefore, what are you going to do with that? Now, maybe the customer is a good customer and they pay you, but sometimes they may not. So think about what kind of implications are there not having the right controls in place to reduce errors. And what are the potential benefits of having enhanced processes? Understand, if I can actually email the salesperson with a little note that says, by the way, Keith Greeno's furnace is just about ready to die. I fixed it and it's put together, but you've got to go talk to him, and I guarantee that you're going to have a sale if you go there and do it on a timely fashion and meet the needs that Keith Greeno needs. I need heat, right? But it really depends. And so you guys have to take a look at all of these costs and then consider it against all of the costs of installing a system. Don't just look at the software, but look at the overall implications and cost to you of putting it in, so having someone put the whole system in for you. And then it's really just becomes a capital budgeting point of view from a business owner, and just saying, listen, it's a cost benefit. Here's the cost, here's the benefits, right? And therefore, if it's greater, then move ahead with the project. So what I'll do is I'll leave it there with questions. And so understand is that what we've got is we believe in using technology and management best practices to make businesses successful. We really believe that you guys deserve systems that work. And so what we're trying to do is just make your lives better. I mean, we do not want to use technology if it doesn't work to make things better for you. So our specialty is this, is that we have accounting, management, and system expertise, and we want to help you designing a system to make it work for your particular organization. With that, I'd like to thank you. Again, I'm Keith Greeno from Asyma Solutions, and we look forward to discussing your problems with you and solving them.